We hear the word innovation every day, but have you stopped to think, what does it actually mean? At its core, innovation is the practical application of ideas that transform how we live, how we think, and how we interact with the world. Consider the organisations that we most often associate with groundbreaking ideas. The global giants that you're thinking of collectively invest hundreds of millions of dollars every year to turn bold concepts into reality. According to the World Intellectual Property Organization, global annual spend on R&D now exceeds $2.7 trillion. But here's the thing, those global giants did not start out as giants. They began as one person, or perhaps a small team, who had a single innovative idea that they turned into reality. And while not every business will scale to those heights, governments worldwide share a common objective, and that is to boost business profitability and productivity so that they can generate wealth, create jobs, and deliver goods and services that improve the lives of their citizens. In the UK, SMEs are defined as, broadly speaking, as organisations with less than 250 employees. And you might be surprised to know that in the UK, they account for 99% of all businesses. However, they only account for 50% of total business revenue. And that gap tells us something very important, that innovation is tied to progress. So here's a question. While those billion-dollar organisations can spend money on research and innovation, what about the small businesses? How do they innovate? How do they grow? And how can they be supported? My name's Lorraine Marks, and for almost 30 years, I've been building partnerships between the university and businesses. So we know that innovation is important, and we also know that it costs a lot of money. And the big corporations that have the funds to support and sustain those levels of research and development, what happens to the smaller organisations that just don't have access to the same resources? This is an economic challenge that all SMEs face. I want also to talk a little bit about the role of universities, and we've heard plenty this evening about some of the activity happening here in Queen's. Most people see them primarily as places of education, and while that's true, they're also places of research. They are engines of discovery. They're home to breakthroughs that shape industries and transform lives. And behind every major innovation, you will find the fingerprints of academic research. Because universities are not just classrooms, they're catalysts. They hold the expertise, that innovation, the bold vision, and the curiosity that fuels progress. So this is the idea I'm bringing to you today, that universities can become the R&D departments for small businesses who wish to innovate and grow. I'm going to take you back to 1975. Some of you in the audience may remember it, others may have to just imagine it. But in 1975, the UK government had its own innovative idea. They launched a programme that they called the Teaching Company Scheme. And it was based on the old concept of the teaching hospital, where junior doctors worked and learned alongside more experienced mentors until they were qualified. And by applying this framework to the UK business sector, the hope was that universities with critical academic knowledge would partner with those businesses, and that would make research output more accessible, and in turn, the businesses would become more productive and profitable. And what's really remarkable is that today in 2025, this programme still is running. 50 years later, it's now called Knowledge Transfer Partnerships, or KTP, but it's still doing exactly the same job it was set up to do. And in Queen's University, we really embraced this programme. To date, we've supported over 400 businesses to partner with over 300 academic researchers, and we've shown that it can be effective in every sector, so from construction and manufacturing to food production and healthcare. But it's not just Queen's University that is doing this. For 50 years, this partnership model has been used extensively across the UK, and as a result, there is now 50 years worth of evidence that this type of partnership really works. And importantly, we don't try to solve every problem at once. We focus on a specific challenge, a business need, whether it's developing a new product, embedding a new process, or maybe applying existing knowledge in a new way. But what we find is that once a business really understands the power of research and the impact it can have, they start to find opportunities they never imagined. And here's the piece that I haven't mentioned yet. We employ a graduate to come on to every project to deliver that piece of work. This is a dedicated person, usually somebody from another generation, and that fresh perspective they bring changes the dynamic. You might also wonder, is this not very similar to a standard graduate training programme? Well, these are more than that, because it's the combination of the academic knowledge, the business partner, and that graduate coming into the business that creates the magic. The graduates immerse themselves in the projects, they acquire the knowledge, and then they lead the process of embedding it across the business. So now we have the three partners. What makes this work? In my experience, I think there are three main factors. First is learning and mentoring. Learning isn't just about formal training, it's about shared growth, and each graduate benefits from two mentors, one with that deep business insight and the other with the academic expertise. And this unique combination really transforms the graduate into the business's in-house expert on the new technology. And together, the graduate and their mentors strengthen each other's learning, they challenge their assumptions, and they really create a powerful cycle where everyone is learning from everyone else. The next is about those new ideas. As we've just heard, innovation is not optional. For a business, it's about survival, and it's what keeps them ahead of their competitors. So combine university research with that business need, and then the unique perspective of a Gen Z graduate, and suddenly creativity accelerates. The businesses build and sustain the capability to recreate these conditions in the long term, so innovation then becomes a habit and not just a one-off event. And the last piece of the puzzle really is that the academic researchers that get involved in these projects, they can clearly see their ideas and research being applied in business in the real world. They gain insight into what will work commercially, and that then sparks fresh research directions, enriches their teaching, and crucially ensures that future graduates are learning from knowledge that is grounded in practice. So I'm just going to give you an example of how this actually works. In 2004, a small family-owned precast concrete company in Northern Ireland began what was to become a 20-year relationship with Queen's University. The business wanted to diversify their product range and had open discussions with an academic team about taking an ancient architectural innovation, which is the arch, and developing a new commercially viable, innovative product. And this was the result. This is the Flexi Arch. It's a modular precast concrete arch bridge that is made in a factory, and then it arrives on site as a flat pack. It can be rapidly installed, saving the company time and money, and it can be adapted to fit in a range of locations. Since this first project, the company has gone on to complete 3 other partnerships with Queen's. They've collaborated with 9 other academics and supported 4 PhD projects. They've seen a 55% growth in revenue and a significant increase in gross profit. And not only that, but the graduate that started the first project 20 years ago is now a company director. And this is not an isolated case study, nor is it specific to Queen's University. After 50 years, there are thousands of examples just like this across the UK in businesses and universities. And what we see is the impact of collaboration. We also know that this partnership model is just one of many ways that small and medium-sized businesses can use to engage. And we also know there are other ways to fund innovation. But the evidence of 50 years would suggest that this is one of the most effective. So it's not just about solving one problem, it's about creating a cycle of innovation that benefits businesses, universities, and graduates alike. So the next time that you see a new product being launched, just remember, you don't need to spend billions of dollars on innovation. You just need partnerships and collaboration. Thank you.